According to French media reports, the order count for China's domestically produced large aircraft C919 has reached 1,061, with a total order value exceeding 700 billion, likely to completely end the era of Boeing and Airbus dominance. Under the strong impact of C919, the performance of the American aviation giant Boeing has seen a rare negative growth, with over 4,000 aircraft facing a cancellation wave, setting the highest loss record in 50 years. Currently, Boeing executives are seeking assistance from US Commerce Secretary Raymond to curb the development of China's commercial aviation project by cutting off the supply of C919 engines. So, what engines does C919 actually use? Is it true that China's domestically produced large aircraft are assembled using foreign parts? Is the tactic of cutting off aircraft engines effective in curbing China's commercial large aircraft development? Today, I will share my views with everyone. As we all know, despite the advanced technology of C919, there are still many doubts, one of which is the relatively low domestication rate of C919, at only 60%. Critical components like engines require imports, so it cannot be considered fully domestic. How should we approach this issue? Is the domestication rate important? First, I'd like to share my perspective. Those who question the low domestication rate of C919 are generally non-experts. Commercial products are not military products, they prioritize product performance rather than domestication rate. For commercial products, what matters is selling well, and that's what defines real quality. Therefore, no aircraft manufacturer pursues this metric. Airbus and Boeing also have low domestication rates. Boeing 737 is only 50%, and Boeing 787 is just over 30%. As for Airbus, it's even more of an international brand. Today, the aircraft manufacturing industry has already achieved globalization in its supply chain. Boeing and Airbus procure components globally through tenders, with a majority relying on imports and utilizing mature, standardized components. As the world's factory, China is a major supplier of aircraft industry components globally. Boeing and Airbus source a significant number of components from China, including wings and fuselages, which are produced through Chinese subcontractors. The launch of China's own aircraft is a natural progression in this globalized industry. A similar development process has been repeated many times in other industrial sectors. Additionally, for sensitive products like airplanes, establishing trust in the market is a crucial step. Using mature foreign components also helps in quickly gaining market trust, and the certification process is relatively easier. In the logical progression of technological development, the truly important aspect is not whether a particular component can be manufactured, but understanding what it takes to build a large aircraft. When developing a product, establishing a comprehensive concept is the first step to determine a clear development direction. Specifically, you must first initiate the project to build a large aircraft before understanding the required technologies, components, and their specific standards. Once these directional aspects are clarified, even if initially all components are imported, it's okay because domestic substitution can be gradually realized later. Conversely, if you never start building the entire aircraft, you will never grasp the concept of the aircraft. At that point, not only will you struggle to manufacture some components, but you'll also remain clueless about what components are needed. In such a scenario, you can only passively produce components based on the benchmarks provided by other aircraft manufacturers, without truly understanding the underlying significance of these benchmarks. Therefore, the project initiation itself is more important than the domestication rate. In reality, the initial planned domestication rate for the C919 was only 30%. However, due to constant pressure from the United States to restrict progress, China had to exert extra effort to raise the domestication rate to over 60%. Thus, for the C919, a 60% domestication rate is not a problem at all, but it is indeed a significant challenge for foreign suppliers. As soon as a product with such a high domestication rate enters the market, there isn't much time left for these foreign suppliers, considering that there are only a few countries in the world with demand for large aircraft components. But here arises another question: since the market volume for large passenger aircraft is so substantial and the profits are high, why haven't other countries entered this market? The fact is, some have tried. Prior to China, countries like Russia, Soviet Union, Brazil, Canada, Japan, and the United Kingdom attempted to enter. What were their outcomes? We won't delve into that question in today's video, as it's a bit complex. I'll create a new video to discuss this topic with you. Let's circle back to today's topic regarding the C919 engine. The C919's new engine comes from the US-French joint venture CFM International, General Electric from the US plus Safran from France, representing General Electric's latest technology. Its main advantage is being highly fuel efficient. It is currently the most fuel-efficient single-aisle commercial aircraft engine globally and also has the largest diameter. For CFM International, the three major customers in this market are its key financial supporters. The company has carefully prepared three versions of the product for these three key customers. The version sold to Airbus A320 is called LEAP 1A, the version sold to Boeing 737 is called LEAP 1B, and the version sold to Comac C919 is called LEAP 1C. Even the letter codes are customized for you, emphasizing a user-friendly approach. The United States often raises concerns about this engine and frequently threatens to cut off supply. If such an excellent engine were indeed to face a cut-off, it would undoubtedly be a significant loss for us. However, the C919 can still operate without this particular engine. China has already completed the maiden flight tests for the CJ1000 engine, specially developed for the C919. Its performance data is comparable to the LEAP engine, and mass production is imminent. Additionally, the CJ1000 is not the only alternative. China has the WS-20 engine, already in mass production and installed on the Y-20 aircraft, which could potentially be used as a backup. Regardless of whether the US imposes sanctions or not, the inevitable trend is to transition to domestically produced engines. If they insist on imposing sanctions now, they would only result in CFM International losing a significant amount of money. The United States, being a global hegemon, can directly restrict countries from exporting aircraft components to China. This is the physical attack approach, simple and effective. However, this tactic comes with its own costs. Free trade is a mutually beneficial exchange. China needs foreign companies' components, and foreign companies need to make profits. So, both parties benefit from this transaction. Under trade sanctions, it's not just one party that gets hurt, it's both parties involved in the trade. Once the US imposes sanctions, all countries involved in this industry chain will bleed, including the US itself. Even if the US takes such action, the effects won't be as immediate as they might expect when dealing with other countries. This is because China's aviation industry chain is relatively well established now. Many components in the C919 are imported not because China can't produce them, but because, at this stage, the imported products have better performance and reputation. In reality, regardless of whether the US imposes sanctions or not, the components of the C919 will gradually transition to domestically produced ones. This mirrors China's development in industries like automobiles and high-speed trains. Similar sanctions have happened before, and China is no stranger to them. In the past, when developing the domestically produced Xinzhou 700 regional jet, China intended to use the PW150C turboprop engine from Pratt & Whitney, Canada. However, the US, citing concerns about potential military applications, fearing China might use it for carrier-based early warning aircraft, directly pressured Canada to cut off the supply of this engine. However, just 2 years after the supply was cut off, the domestically developed alternative AEP 500 engine was installed on the Xinzhou 700, and it successfully completed its maiden flight. As for carrier-based early warning aircraft, China had no intention to use imported components in the first place, so it had no impact whatsoever. The sanctions delayed the progress of Chinese passenger aircraft by a little over 2 years, but for Western countries, it meant permanently losing out on business opportunities and significantly damaging their reputation. Nevertheless, because of these factors, China understood early on that to establish a firm footing in the world, it must persist in self-reliance, always be prepared with alternatives, and never halt the progress of domestication. Of course, while the principle is easy to state, it's challenging to execute, and preparing these alternatives isn't something that can be done at a moment's notice. China's ability to do so is also due to the distinct development path of its civil aviation industry compared to other countries. The development of China's civil aviation aircraft is not a distant dream, it follows a strategy of military-civil fusion, with military technologies serving as a foundation, readily convertible to civilian use when needed. For instance, China's Xinzhou series of small turboprop regional aircraft were developed based on the Yun-7 military transport aircraft. These aircraft have been successfully exported to 19 countries through 29 customers, with over 100 units exported. This is another topic, and if you're interested, please leave a comment in the section below. I'll create a new video to discuss this topic. That's all for today. Goodbye.